Questions too at the end. So if you have a question anytime about anything, feel free to throw up your hand. I'll take some time to answer that. So I'm going to go through several things today. Mostly we'll talk a lot about marketing. I am going to talk about some nutritional principles as well. But before I do that, just to kind of give you guys a little bit more of my background. I went to Palmer, Florida, graduated a bit over 5 years ago, had a wellness practice in Nashville for 5 years, and we did chiropractic care there, a lot of more of a corrective basis with a lot of rehab with it. We did nutrition consults, we taught fitness classes out of the office twice a week, and really it's always been my goal to get people healthy and well, and so I was introduced to chiropractic through a friend in Columbus, Ohio, and he was an applied kinesiology doc, and you know, I always had a passion for seeing people get well naturally, and so it saw what he did, attracted me to it, and so started chiropractic college. So when I got to chiropractic college, something made me think of this today. But you know, hearing about this straight and mixed chiropractors and all this stuff, I just completely ignore all of it at this point because it's just a ridiculous debate. You know, my wife Chelsea's here with me, and our dog Oakley, because we couldn't leave him in the car because that's illegal on Life's campus. But you know, we were on Facebook and someone posted something and there's like 83 comments and everybody arguing back and forth. And I just know, for you know, if your heart is like mine, it's I want to get people well. And that's really what it comes down to. And so, you know, no matter what your philosophy is, it really is our goal as chiropractors is to transform the health of this country. And just to let you know, we do have an amazing principle that can be argued about, that Dee Dee and BJ passed on to us, that, again, we get sick people well, and we do it through the principle of chiropractic, that, you know, there's nothing else on the outside that can heal us, only that power that God put in our body can heal the body. But you know, the reason why I teach nutrition is because I believe that can be an important aspect of the chiropractic principle, because if we're talking about the cause, what causes subluxation? Well, we know if you're eating terribly, and I can tell you from being in Nashville, Tennessee, the South of the South, we have people, I have patients coming in, you know, well over 400 pounds and 300 pounds really consistently. And if I don't support them in getting that weight off, can you see how an extra 100 pounds would seriously subluxate somebody? So again, I understand and respect everybody's opinion. For people that want to focus just on the spine and not give any other lifestyle sort of advice, that's great, and then referring out to somebody who can help them with that, I totally respect that and think that's great, but I also know that I've seen great value in me being able to support people in the lifestyle aspects as well. And so again, I've really created, in my clinic, we created a real combination of using chiropractic plus changing your nutrition, and it really made a big impact in patients' lives. And I recently got a Facebook message from a guy named Gino. He's an Italian truck driver who was over 400 pounds, and over the last year and 9 months, he's lost 208 pounds since he's followed my nutritional advice. And so again, when you can see that sort of impact in somebody, you know, it's an exciting thing to see. And so I want to talk about really how to incorporate nutrition into practice. And you know, one of the most important things that you want to make sure that you have as you get into practice is you want to have a system in place. A lot of times chiropractors get into practice and you're just kind of all over the place. One patient, you'll tell one thing, another thing, and you really want to create a system in your office. I'm just going to give you an example of our system. You know, when patients came into my clinic, I would typically, first off, we would do the history, do the analysis. We used you know, we did a thermal scan, we did EMG, we did X-rays, full spine X-rays. We would have people fill out a lifestyle questionnaire and get an idea of what they were eating, how many medications they were on. Really just look at an overall history, and then we would have a report of findings on their second visit. And basically we would go over what we found on the X-rays, obviously what we saw on the scan, lifestyle factors. And then we would get them adjusted that night right after for their first adjustment on their second visit. So that was the model we followed in chiropractic. Third visit they would come in, we would give them a tour of the office, we did traction, we did wobble boards, that sort of thing in the office, got their spines warmed up before the adjustment. And then after that we did a fourth visit, and typically this kind of depended. Typically about their third week of care, we would schedule everybody for a nutrition consult, and it was typically in between their 6th and 12th visit in the office. The reason I didn't do it the first visit or the second or right up front is you really don't want to all of a sudden go into chiropractic, start doing chiropractic, and the next day add nutrition on top of them. We gave them 2 weeks to get acclimated to the office, get ready to get adjusted, and then we would sit down with them and give them about a 20-minute nutrition consultation. And I didn't do a lecture about, you know, COX-2 inhibitors and eicosanoids and all these things, and believe me, I've had some people that I went to school with where they're doing presentations on that to their patients. Go ahead, you can try that, but it's a lot more effective simplifying it for your patients. And you're going to have a range of people that, you know, some that are really nutritionally savvy today, most of them really aren't. And so, you know, we try and break it down for them very simply. And so one of the things that I didn't practice is I kind of created customized eating plans for people. And so we had eating plans that were more geared towards people weight loss. We work with a lot of, you know, I ended up working with quite a few athletes, so certain things that were good for athletes and making sure, you know, and some that were good for diabetics. And so I kind of made my own customized eating plans, and every month somehow I tweaked them or changed them a little bit. They were a little bit different. But I would sit down with the patient, go over a eating plan of what to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I'd give them a shopping list on a list of the best foods that they could eat. I would give them some recipe ideas. And then along with that, again, I really saw it as being my goal to equip my patients and support them in every single way I possibly could. And so part of our system was, along with that nutrition consult, is I would teach a shopping class 6 times a year. And most of the time I would go into the Whole Foods in our area, or, you know, even Kroger and Publix. I mean, going there, and I would walk up and down the aisles, teach these classes, and to be honest, that was a great way. I never did that class and I didn't get a new patient. I mean, over time, they said of all the classes I taught, they said the shopping class at Whole Foods was the most helpful class, because if you, I don't even remember what this is like, but when I first went into Whole Foods, I remember it was kind of like culture shock. It's not the same as other grocery stores. There's something different here. So we would teach shopping classes, I would teach cooking classes, and we would do all these things, but it also became a great tool for bringing in new patients to the practice. And always, you know, always when I was teaching these nutritional principles, it was adding in the chiropractic principle that it's not this food that heals you. We're giving your body the nutrients, so your nerve system, for that power that made the body, that heals the body, so it can utilize these nutrients and heal your system. And so that's really the sort of mindset that we're always weaving throughout everything we've done. And so again, really encourage you guys to create that system in your practice. And obviously there's a lot of coaching systems, from, you know, Pinnacle to Maximize Living to Get the Big Idea are the ones that I'm most familiar with. But, you know, those are great. They have their systems, and if you're part of those clubs, follow their systems, you know. But I found it good to be, again, after about 2 weeks, sitting down, go over, and hey, here's some nutritional principles, and not making it heavy on the person. Here's the other thing. Patients want to know exactly what to do. So this is what the medical community does all the time. Someone will go into their MD and they'll tell them, let's say you have got a diabetic patient, and their doctor, this is what they'll tell them. They say, you need to eat healthier. That's what they tell them. And it's like, thanks a lot. Okay, I need to eat healthier. I don't have a clue what to do. I've never eaten healthy before. And so when you have a patient come into your office, you want to tell them what to eat for breakfast, what to eat for lunch, what to eat for dinner, and say, hey, you know what, this isn't set, you have to do this, but it's a place to start if you don't know where to start. So we would typically always start patients off on a berry smoothie for breakfast, coconut milk or cultured dairy with some, you know, berries and you know, cinnamon and some flax meal and stuff like that. So we would lay out a specific berry smoothie for breakfast. You know, things that were simple and easy. And then give them other recipe options. Typically I would list out, hey, here are your 5 options for breakfast, 5 options for lunch, 5 for snacks. So some veggies and hummus, raw cheese and flax crackers, you know, apple and almond butter. And then, you know, in dinner. And so we would lay out specifically, here are your options, here's your meal plan. And I found that to really create a very high conversion rate for patients who actually went on to actually follow the advice and follow through and see good results in their health. And then typically we would start them off with that nutrition consult, and maybe, you know, 60 days later we would go ahead and we would do a follow-up consultation to see how they're doing with nutrition. So you can really see here, this didn't necessarily infect the practice. Now I will tell you this, that I still, I still got a lot of nutrition questions in the bays, okay? But one of the things that, when I was adjusting, but I didn't answer a lot of those nutrition questions. What I would say is, what I'm going to have you do is I would write down my email, and I'd say, I'm going to answer that question for you, just shoot me an email. And so then I had my chiropractic time, and then I had my nutrition time, and they really were, in most ways, they were separate. And I don't think there's a problem answering if you're not busy. Necessarily answering nutrition questions. Another thing too, as you get busier in practice, I didn't do the nutrition consults my last 3 years of practice. I had somebody I trained, and typically it was a CA, because there's nothing that is, I'm not doing anything that's necessarily, mind-boggling or super heavy on somebody. Now, if I had a patient come in that really needed more attention, had a serious autoimmune or chronic illness, sometimes I would step in and do the nutrition consult there, but it is not hard for your CA to go over, here's what to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, here's a replacement food list, rather than vegetable oil, canola oil, rather than this flour, gluten-free flour. That's all they're doing, is basically going over and handing them these nutritional kind of tools. And so that's the way we set that up in our office. And then again, we would do, like I said, the recipe nights, we would do the shopping classes, advanced nutrition classes, and these were also great ways to also bring new patients into the practice. And the other thing that's really positive about this is it separates you. I recommend, this was I remember this was my freshman year at chiropractic college. I read a book by a guy named John Maxwell. Some of you guys may have heard or seen his book. It's a leadership book. And he talks about the 80-20 principle, but he said most people focus on building their weaknesses. And so a lot of times you think, whatever I'm weak at, if I don't understand something, that's what I need to focus on. What you really want to do is manage your weaknesses, but if God has given you a strength and a passion in life, you want to hone that and do everything you can to develop that gift. And really, you want to be able to make that the area you stand out. And so for me, my passion has always been nutrition. And so one of the things that I did when it came to marketing, when it came to my patients, it's kind of always been something I'm passionate about. It's something that came naturally. So I really made that a big part of what we did and used that as a strength. Similar thing, I love cooking. I don't know if anybody watches the Food Network. It's basically the only station we watch in my house. But we watch. I just sent my application for Chopped. We'll see. Hopefully, it'll be fun to go on there. But anyways, it's so for me that was a passion. So I started creating a lot of recipes. And it was nothing I even necessarily thought about at the time. It was just something that I really loved to do. And so for me, that became a new patient tool, became a passion. And so that's what you want to look at for yourself. Now, there are some really good internet marketers out there today. If you've ever heard of Tim Ferriss, he wrote a book called The 4-Hour Workweek and 4-Hour Body. There's another guy named Gary Vaynerchuk. He wrote a book called Crush It. And these guys will tell you online, there are no rules. Okay, so I remember when I first started looking at Dr. Mercola, I loved what Dr. Mercola put out. In fact, when I was a chiropractor, this is before he was big, he had about a 1/100th of the listeners he had now, but he was speaking in Fort Lauderdale. I went down there from Daytona Beach and listened to him speak, and to be honest, I was very disenchanted. He was a terrible speaker when I heard him. It was not good. It was like the most monotone, boring PowerPoint presentation I'd ever seen. But you know what? He may not be, and you can recognize this if you've seen his videos, and I'm not dogging Mercola. He's amazing, but he is not, his gift is not speaking. But he has an amazing ability to create. I can tell you from talking to some of his team members, he's built an amazing team. He puts out some of the best articles, and he's the best headliner of anybody I've ever seen in terms of his articles that capture people's attention. So the man is beyond gifted, but because of that, he puts out more articles than anybody else out there today. Where Gary Vaynerchuk would say, Gary Vaynerchuk has never wrote an article in his whole life, but he does videos because he's good on video. So find this for yourself. I like writing articles, but there's a lot of people who don't like sitting down and writing articles. So figure out what is it that you're good at in terms of communication. Number one, maybe it's just writing articles on chiropractic. That's fantastic. Maybe it's nutrition. Maybe you're kind of a fitness buff, or you want to focus on athletes or pediatrics, or find your niche, okay? Find what that niche is, find out what that strength and that passion is, and then figure out your strength in communication. Are you better writing? Are you better through just voice on the radio? Are you better on audio? And for some of you guys, it's going to be all of those avenues and channels, but really, again, figure out what you're effective in. You know, when I got into practice, I was part of the Maximize Living Club at the time, and so we were a part of a model that we did a lot of screenings, and okay? There's other stuff too, but we did a lot of screenings. And I got the point in practice 6 months in. I remember I was screening at this mall. Actually, no, this was, I'm sorry, 2 weeks in. I'm like, I can't do it. I cannot do this anymore because a guy came up to me, like, I'm not going to say, but I just could not handle doing screening all the time. And I still screened a little bit after that, but I said, you know what, I got to figure out what my passion is. And so I started partnering, doing a radio show with another chiropractor in town, and we did it together. And I just realized, you know what, this is an ease for me. I feel strong at it. I've had some patients come in. I'm going to take that thing that I'm recognizing that I'm strong at, and I'm going to make it even stronger. And so I went and got a 2-hour radio show on another station, sent in a demo, and then eventually got the show really strong. Had someone else approach me, asked me to come on the largest station in the city. Went on that station, did a 3-hour show. And one of my mentors at the time was like, you can't do a 3-hour radio show. And I said, no, I'm going to do a 3-hour radio show. I like doing the radio. And this was foreign to him because the longest radio show he ever did was 30 minutes. And he felt like, you got to sit there and talk by yourself for 3 hours? How does that work? Well, how does Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity and these guys do it? You know, they love to hear themselves talk. For me, it was, I got to answer questions, and so I did a live call-in show. I was only talking part of the time, but that was another one of my passions. Is I love people asking, how do I take care of diabetes, or what do I do for this? And so I would answer those questions on the radio show. And it doesn't always come immediately to you. It's not always like, I know exactly what I'm supposed to do. But at the same time, again, just really figuring that out over time and always trying to figure out what that is. It's a really, really powerful thing. So again, what is your strength and your passion? What is your communication strength and your way of attracting and bringing in new people? And let me say, just with the internet today, there are so many opportunities to do this. You know, I really believe that if you guys start doing something now, 2 years from now, the numbers are going to be crazy. Just to give you an example, you know, when I first started practice, I didn't start my blog until I was at least a year in, and maybe longer. And right now we're at about 30,000. Well, we've got 30,000 people on my newsletter list. And I just, even the first year we didn't put out that much. You know, I mean, here's the thing, it's the power of accumulation. If you start now, at first you're going to be like, I'm blogging, nobody's reading this is boring. But you know what, if you stay consistent with whatever stream of communication you're going to do, it will build over time. And here's the other truth is, the cream always rises to the top. You can be doing something in the beginning and seeing someone else out there and feel like, I'm better than them, I'm stronger than them. How do they have all these people listening? If you are gifted at this, if you put in the time, if you work on honing and building these skills, you will rise to the top and it will come out in what you're doing, and those numbers will be there. And so, you know, it was crazy by the end of practice. I had a lot of people coming in through Facebook, and I never actually publicized, which I think you should, but I never publicized my clinic one time on Facebook. But people just naturally learned about me, word of mouth got out on Facebook, and so again, there's several different ways you can incorporate this into practice, but I'm going to jump into a few things you probably want to consider doing, and some of this stuff you may say, you know what, that's not for me, some of it is for you, but one of the things I would highly recommend doing is getting a website, okay, and really setting it up as more of what we call, you know, what I consider to be a blog, and I would find your, you know, a DR and then your last name, or something else you're passionate about. A friend of mine, his name is Mark Sisson. He runs Mark's Daily Apple. You know, I mean, it's a great name. It's simple. It's easy. So whatever it is, again, think of some sort of creative name, or if you have some sort of passion. Start a website or a blog now. And I'll tell you, there's some good, you know, there's some good free sites out there now. Sometimes you can invest anywhere from $500 to a couple $1,000s and get a really good platform like WordPress or Tumblr and some of these other ones. And so again, go out there and find a web platform and just, you know, get a website built up. And there's different forms of communication you can put on there. Now on my site, let me go ahead and show you just a couple things. Just a few things here. Oh. That's okay. I'll just. Sorry. So anyways, there are there are a lot of different things you can do on here, but I kind of have it separated into, or try and put out communication in terms of articles, videos, and then more content like straight recipes. And so that's a great way to do things. Thank you. And so you can see here we have products, we have your about page, who are you, what is it about you, resources. Now we have an archive where people can go listen to radio, video, and articles. So those are the three tabs, radio, video, and articles. They're on the website. And again, the other thing is you don't want this thing to be too cluttered, okay? We like to really keep it very, very simple. The other thing is you definitely want to start accumulating a newsletter list, okay?